Hello, everyone. This is Classic Amateurs. My name is Norman, and I am an aspiring billionaire. I'm here with Raz. How are you today, Raz?
I'm amazing, Norm. Good to see you. It's been too long. The winter is coming in Australia. Been 10 degrees today. I cycled to work and I froze my ass off. But otherwise, good.
That must be really cold for you.
By Australian standards, it is.
It's kind of coming summer in Europe, so I'm complaining about the opposite. Let's talk about Elon Musk. I have recently finished his biography, written in
Okay.
2017, when he was only a small time billionaire, not like today when he's on paper the richest man in the world. And I
Yeah.
thought it would be interesting to cover this, as now he's been in the news recently. He bought this small website called Twitter, along
Did
with
he
some death threats from Russia and, just the usual
did he
stuff.
buy it though, or is he still bitching about the price?
I
And
think he's
hasn't
bitching
bought
about the price. I think he's planning still to buy it, but who knows? It changes every day. It's exciting. It's my second favorite topic to talk about after Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
it. Yeah. That's too harsh. I don't even want to go there because I have tried to avoid that topic. Any kind of gossip, celebrity news is just horrendous to watch. No one's gonna come out of good out of that one. So it will not stand the test of time. That will not be a classic event. Or maybe it will be in terms of how horrible things can go in relationship.
Yeah, maybe one day we can cover the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial as a classic book.
That's gonna be the day. Season 5.
Season
So yeah,
5.
Elon Musk. So what's up with Elon Musk? Why did you want to talk about Elon Musk? And did you actually read this book 5 years ago?
I read it a few months ago. I listened to it a few months ago on Audible subscription. And I wanted to talk about it because I think he's an interesting guy. I actually really like him. I sometimes call him Daddy Musk just as a joke. And
I mean, I definitely agree. He's an interesting character. Most days I'm kind of afraid to like him, or I'm worried. For instance, at one point, I know I had some shares in a fund that owned Tesla, and I was genuinely afraid for my money, as this was years ago, right before Tesla was this big, and really worried that he was just bullshitting everybody. Now I'm not so sure. I think I'm starting to believe what he's saying, and he's definitely legit scientifically about a lot of things. So, but now the Twitter thing is undermining a lot of stuff.
sometimes it definitely feels like he's a very talented multi-billionaire, and sometimes he just seems like three toddlers in a trench coat. The book itself is a biography written by Ashlee Vance, and it talks about his whole life, everything from his early life in South Africa and his parents. While I wanted to know more about his ventures, I did find myself way more engaged and interested in his upbringing and his philosophy. So if you don't mind, we'll not talk too much about the ventures because what's up, PayPal, Tesla, space.
I mean, people
So
dispute whether he was actually rich to begin with or if he started from scratch, but yeah, that's a different topic. But yeah, what did you have in mind?
yeah, they talk about all that, right? He's essentially grown up in what I would describe as a middle class South African family. There was a divorce in the family early on, and apparently his dad was incredibly toxic, although he lived with him. And then he got bullied in school quite a bit. In general, they had money. There, I think many people exaggerate how much money he had. Overall, when he moved to Canada through his mom, who is a Canadian citizen, he didn't have much and he had to work like in odd jobs just to earn enough money to go to college. And then he moved to the US, where he often didn't even have a home. He just lived in his office space. So I don't think he was by any means rich. He definitely earned his money. That bit is always been contentious. I don't see that much content there. Specifically, I think that's more left to the gossip magazines. Do you, by the way, read any biography? Do you have any favorite?
I do like Richard Feynman, who's this also a physicist, right? I mean, you could argue that Elon Musk is a physicist. It's called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, and it's a kind of a fun history of this guy, very good at physics and I guess, quantum mechanics. He contributed to the bomb, actually.
he achieved something nice as well. If anyone would ever write a biography for you, would there be any parts you would skip?
Want people to skip would be probably the most mundane things, like eating,
Yeah, fair enough.
just having a shower.
I would probably skip all my interactions with my crushes. There would be way too much cringe.
Yeah. Then again, I mean, Elon Musk is very well known for his crushes and his cringes. So I'm not sure. Maybe sometimes the cringiest things like can be part of your story, right?
It doesn't have to be though.
It doesn't have to be. No,
I can control it.
More heroic.
Anyway, but yeah, I think Elon Musk is pretty impressive. Like the first thing that stood out for me in his biography is that he learned how to program in BASIC in 3 days, and then he wrote a video game. And it really reminded me of a time in college when I was learning Java for 2 years, and I thought every single moment of that study was a torture for me. So that already impressed me pretty well. And then when he moved to Canada and then in the US, he obviously started his first company called Zip2, which was like a Google Maps before Google Maps. And that got him off pretty well financially. And then he moved on to invest in PayPal, which was originally called X.com, and then SpaceX and Tesla. What I found also impressive about his work history is that he had insane work ethic. Like he was often sleeping on a trash bag in his office without showering for days. And I was thinking that's probably what put the Musk behind the Elon. Did you ever have like a project you spent an insane amount of time, like you worked through the night, anything that you...
I mean, yes, I've worked through the night for work sometimes in my previous financial role. The CFA thing, so I'm studying for a certificate, becoming a financial analyst, that took hundreds of hours, sometimes through the night. I enjoy doing that sometimes. It does have a toll on you. You have to be extremely motivated to be able to recover from the fatigue of working very, very intensely for most of a week, let's say. Because the body does need to regenerate. So if you are motivated, I think you do recuperate a bit faster just through sheer willpower.
Yeah, that's fair. I once did a presentation that I was so excited about. I worked until 4 o'clock in the morning to finish it. But because I worked until 4 o'clock and I didn't get any sleep, I actually fell ill by the end and I couldn't go in to present it. So that's my hardest working moment.
I just remember now when I was in university, we didn't study all semester, and then like the day before the exam, we had to cram everything in. It's just horrible. And I used to drink a whole bottle of Mountain Dew to stay awake until 6 a.m. when I just go straight to the exam. I've done that once or twice. And I got really good grades as well, because I just remembered everything. I just memorized it the night before.
We call it educational bulimia. And you just let it out afterwards. You forget everything you learned like a few days after the exam.
That was such a destructive period. I don't know. But what are you going to do?
That's how it works. And it really seems like Elon Musk has a very similar lifestyle, but forever. Like he still seems to work endless amount of hours. I'm not even sure how he has time for so much shit that he is doing. It is very impressive. And what I found really cool about the book is that initially Ashlee Vance, the person that wrote the book, was very skeptical about him and was talking about how it is incredibly difficult to work with Elon. Elon is incredibly cringe and incredibly hard to, handle. But then by the end, he became a bit of a fan of his work. So that was really impressive how Elon managed to convince him, and how Elon slowly showed everyone that he's able to achieve all that he dreamed of. Well, not everything yet, but, we'll see how it works with the Mars expedition in a few years.
I mean, yeah, he's putting a stake in the ground, and he's creating this vision for something. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to motivate so many people and so much capital, right? So the idea of going to Mars.
Yeah, absolutely. Goal. And what I found is, based on the book itself, Elon had some really interesting approach to life and how he picks up his priorities. One of the things he talked about is it's very difficult. It's very easy to give answers to all sort of questions, but it's also incredibly difficult to find the right question. So the most challenging bit for him is to find the right question. And one of these were like, what do I want to do with my life? I can go to college, I can do what my dad was doing, I can do what someone else that I'm very inspired by was doing, but is this really what I want to do? So instead, he started thinking about what he wants to achieve. That was really the ultimate question he asked himself. And the answer was, I want humanity to become an interplanetary species, right? To get to Mars. And that's the answer, that's the question and answer that drove him over the years to first start Zip2 and then move to SpaceX and do what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I think that is amazing, and I'm actually, out of everything that he's done, SpaceX is the thing that impressed me the most, because he's generally the engineer, right, behind a lot of the stuff there. So he understands what it's like to put a rocket into space and bring it back. So that is very impressive. And from what I understand, from a financial point of view, SpaceX is extremely lucrative. And if it were to IPO, it would be $100 billion business as well that has made money for people privately, right?
There is apparently like a 10-pager why he doesn't want to IPO SpaceX, because he just hates public companies and the responsibilities that come with it. And he struggles with
fined a lot. Yeah, I remember when he was commenting about funding secured for Tesla and the Saudis backing up with funding, and that's, maybe we can switch to kind of the things that I don't like about him, or things that I find a bit suspicious. Which is one, I find his personality is quite intriguing and sometimes not the most cooperative, right? And he admitted he's on the spectrum, right? I think he does struggle to connect emotionally with people, and sometimes he's acting like a bit of a troll, which is part of his charm to some extent, but sometimes I find it a bit annoying.
I really wanted this episode to be an Elon love hour, but let's shift towards the Elon hate hour instead.
Well, just to give a full picture, otherwise it's just a note to Elon that other people are doing anyway, so just adding my own value add to that. What I do like about him is that I agree with his goal or his concern that as a species, we are in 100 years, if the trends continue, actually the pyramid will shift quite a bit, and we'll have a lot of old people, and who's going to look after those people, and who will support the economy. So, and I like the fact that he's putting his money where his mouth is, and he's getting as many kids as he can.
Oh yeah,
got to look up to that. He's trying to populate the planet and the solar system. Children, very inspiring for a lot of people that are looking to have families. He's not very good at staying with his partner, which may not be the best outcome for kids.
Well, it is. They actually talk about this in the book as well. Back then, they basically said that he is not on the spectrum, although many people already speculated that he might have Asperger's. The Ashlee Vance, the person that wrote the book, suggested that he is what you would call a gifted kid. Gifted kids often showcase very similar behavior what Elon Musk does. And there's no denying that guy is incredibly cringe and incredibly nerdy. Like he's very much the archetype of everything that I was when I was a kid. Of course, with extra talent and money by now, unlike me. We're still doing a podcast. So with all seriousness, I think that's definitely there's definitely a lot to talk about in terms of his behavior online as well as with his actions. I don't think a lot of it gets magnified because he is so rich. A lot of the stuff he says are just like silly stuff and jokes that we wouldn't take very seriously from each other. Mm-hmm. But I guess he's rich and he's influential, so
but you gotta give it to the fact that he was uncancelable, right? In the society that we live in, people don't get away with a lot, and he says so much shit. And I don't know if it reminds me a bit of Trump, right? Although Trump definitely got canceled in the end. The ability to kind of say shit and then take it back, and then back and forth, in a way, kind of as a ode to freedom of speech, which he ended up representing now, and he's in the point of doing a transaction that is in the spirit of freedom of speech, supposedly. Yeah, I think that's quite admirable that he can get away with so much, and it's not just because he's rich. I find I think it's because he's competent at what he does, and that kind of washes away, any shit that he kind of says. And I think that's good. That's a good. It's a healthy thing. And I think more people should be given the opportunity of doing that and being wrong and taking stuff back and moving on without their life being destroyed as a result.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know where any of these free speech stuff will go. I mean, I hope for him the best. Like, he seems to be the guy that even if you don't like him, he ultimately does good for humanity, right? Or unless you think polluting Mars is a bad thing. In that case, you must hate him. I think, yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack there, and I don't want to go too much into the book. Essentially, I recommend everyone to read it or listen to it. I think it's super interesting. I personally don't like biographies very much, but I enjoy this quite a bit. He was working nonstop, and he made a bit of calculation how much time a girlfriend needs. So he did a full equation explaining like how much time a woman needs, how much time you need to spend with them to go out and spend time. And it's like 10 hours a week should be enough for a girlfriend. And he makes this makes this comment so seriously, and I just couldn't help myself. I thought that was hilarious. The guy who understands space travel has no idea how women work and how relationships work. With all seriousness though, like it's a very entertaining book.
But that doesn't sound too far off, honestly. If I think about my relationship, I think all it takes is a good half hour every day on average. That's even less than his number. Just to talk. This is just to talk. Just to catch up what the other person is doing.
Sure, keep in mind that he treats his girlfriends like a business meeting, right? So he books it in, and it just kind of like
comes
does it, and once and he leaves. Yeah, it comes with an agenda.
Yeah.
So it's different.
I guess 10 hours does make sense. So you got 3.5 hours just to talk. You might eat together. No, you need to eat more. And then you want to have some intimacy. That's pretty much it. 10 hours is a bit tight. It is a bit tight. Yeah. He's a busy man.
He's a busy man, and he will keep us busy over the next I don't know how many years. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say about the book.
Dogecoin to the moon. That's all I have to say.
Sure. So we'll include a link in the description if anyone wants to support us. Please buy the book on Audible or even in physical form, as well as please subscribe to whatever platform you found us. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Classic Amateurs.